All right, I'm back. I think for this video, I'm going to talk about what activation means in the Mu universe, um, how monodes are generated, and the significance of that, and maybe show some of the limitations of just having only uh, an Addicity operation or um, activator, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna just kind of demonstrate more of the philosophy behind it that I found interesting. Uh, and then after this video, the next video will be talking about the binding operation and both. I think I called it a generator, but how bindings happen, what a neighborhood is, why I call it a neighborhood, um, and then how polynodes stem from that. And this was all this was shown in a previous video, but just not in as much depth. And I'm gonna kind of go back and forth, kind of weave through all these ideas. Eventually, I want to get to the infinitely extensible monodes, which basically is a monode that when it binds, it doesn't lose any addicity. It doesn't lose an arm, so it can bind to pretty much anything at any time. There's no constraints. Whereas in a regular monode, once the arm's bound, it's bound. It becomes part of a neighborhood and becomes inaccessible in that way to bind that specific arm to bind to another, unless there's another arm available. Addicity of two or more. So I'll kind of go into that idea. I don't know. I find it all quite exciting. Just the conceptualization of it is interesting to me. As you can see, I'm not got the best setup for the situation, and it almost became an obstacle to doing these videos. But then I don't know, I got bored, wanted to do something, entertain these videos some more, and kind of see what goes from there. All right, so I'll start with the concept of activation in the Mu universe, or monadic universe is another term I've been using, but they're synonymous. So I'm going to switch this over to the board. The whole idea. So the symbol I've been using previously and now is that the Mu symbol, that stating that we're talking about monodes, polynodes, neighborhoods, binding neighborhoods, or whatever they're going to be called. But it's just kind of saying that this is what I'm working in. I think the inspiration of this came from when I learned more about Peirce and existential graphs, I believe is what they're called, and it talked about the sheet of assertion, right? And you can look into this. There's lots of information about Peirce's philosophy, thinking, logic online. So it's kind of the same idea, except for this is like a Mu space or Mu universe. Basically, in this concept, everything's filled up with monodes. Everything, like all the way through. and it's obviously conceptual because there's the physical components and that to the board and this and that, and there's space and time and that. But the whole idea is that everything is made up of monodes, and there's no there's no intrinsic idea of distance between monodes and that, just that they're separate. Hence when I use the index indicator showed that this mode is not the same as this one. They're two different things. But also, if you had two monodes of the same index, then you had a polynode, and that was kind of like like an insight for me. And so what I tried to explain in my last video, I started drawing like these together, but I just wanted to show that like this whole thing is just full of deactivated, and that was the term I started using, deactivated monodes. And then when they became relevant is when they became activated. Essentially, it went from, that was this thing forming some monode with addicity of 0, something like that. So once the addicity operator applied to the Mu universe, it activated, and it doesn't specify anything about where, when, whatever. None of that makes it. It's all arbitrary. Best way to put that. And actually, I kind of thought it was interesting because I'm like, you could have a monode here. Let's say we have we'll just say we have something here, right? And we'll call it 0. And we have something here, and we're going to call it 1. Now, those are two distinct monodes. And what we can say is this distance between the two, whether they're both on this board, whether they are even in the same space-time, all that, none of that matters. It's just that, do they exist? Are they active? Are they activated in the Mu universe? Are they relevant? That's the term I was using in my previous video. Are they relevant in the Mu universe? So that's kind of the whole idea behind it. So empty space is not empty space in the Mu universe. It's essentially full, but everything's deactivated, so it doesn't matter. Even if it is full stuff, it doesn't matter if it's full stuff because it doesn't have relevance and it's kind of bearing at that time until you activate it. Use an activation operator, the alpha, or the other thing I used was the this thing. Kind of the same idea. I think I said this and alpha were kind of identical. Maybe they could take on more complex meanings as I gone deeper into this, but right now I'm just going to use them in where they have the same effect. I could see where it'd be important to have something that maybe created multiple activations on the Mu universe, and then that created multiple or activated multiple monodes within that universe, and then you could use that, and you'd have those all. So essentially, you could say, if you defined it as such, say this defines, I don't know, we'll put it up here. Let's say there's 5, right? From here generates M0, M1, M2, 3, 4, something like that. And none of them, they're not in a sequence. They're not together. I mean, heck, I could write it. I could write M1 here, M2 on my wall. However, it doesn't mean that they're ordered there together, just saying that those are what's active in the universe. So you could do something like that. I haven't really looked too much into that yet, but I thought that was interesting too. if that's the case, then I would use the alpha symbol as like a urinary kind of operation, and use that other symbol as like, to, if there's more than one things being operated on at the same time, to kind of, I don't know, save space in your writing or something. But I also used this when I was drawing a graph to show that this graph would grow an arm. So, that could get confusing too. I don't know. Haven't gotten that far into it. Still kind of playing with the idea. But as you can see, every time alpha activates the Mu universe, anytime it activates that, it gives you a different one. So we're going to put an index of 0. We're going to say they're all distinct. And we're going to say, and this is arbitrary. This doesn't mean nothing. This is just kind of me tracking, right? So at the first moment, it's kind of a discrete way of looking at it. Poof, that one's formed. Then this one's formed. I'll put the 0 there. And, well, I'm not going to continue with the whole thing, but you get the idea that eventually you get some number of monodes that are activated inside the Mu universe. I think you could do a lot of interesting things with this. You could take, like I showed before. Let me erase this. If we did something like this, and then I showed you that there's like a little shortcut, like a convention. So this applies to that, creates a monode, and then that monode gets activated. So we didn't even show the 0. We just showed immediately it having an arm, because this is gonna get this, like convention and map, left to right. This is a unary operation on the Mu space, so it's only the one thing that happens before. This is just a convention saying whatever's done with this gets operated on whatever's done here, and then that's the result. Well, this right here creates, you could actually look at it this way. This right here created a monode that didn't have any addicity, right? And then this is just basically saying, well, take and do that, and you get the same thing there. So it's just a shortcut, I guess. But we'll start out. We'll just say we have a mono that's activated. Or actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll just take Mu, activate it. We get M0 and M1, and then M, and let's call them A, right? So this right here is activated, creates, this operation activates the Mu universe, creates a active monode, and then that monode gains addicity or arms. And this is kind of, and I think I already showed that in the previous video. But you can do this with, like, you could call that this. You can show that this can happen at any time. If that already exists, then you're already going to have a different index. And it doesn't matter what the index is. The whole idea behind the index is that the monodes are not the same. It could be a label. It could be however an individual wants to work with it. It's easier to use the whole numbers. because then you can kind of keep track of like a ordering, but it's not technically ordered. This being 0 and this being 1 means nothing in this sense that it's not ordered. Just you could call this 1 and this would be a 0, or there's not. It's sort of arbitrary. There's no rhyme or reason for the ordering of indices. Anywho. So 1, 1. And as you can see, you can keep going. For me, it's just easier to organize it this way. And I think I just put I as like a stand-in. And I think I did, so like 1. And eventually I just kind of left that. And I showed that before in one of the previous videos. That's kind of the main form that a monode takes. Just saying it has some sort of indices, it has some sort of addicity, and this implies that whatever this index is going to be different from any other monode unless it's part of the same monode, which is that polynode concept. But we're not there because you need binding to create the polynode in this monodic theory. So this is the gist of it. Obviously, there's a lot more you could do. I'm going to elaborate as I go on. The next section I'll talk about will be bindings, so I'll show what that entails and some interesting stuff with that. But conceptually, this is more philosophical than mathematical. You can obviously see where the math would come in play, but it's never been tested to see if it falls apart, if it's consistent or not. Just fairly recent creation. So anyway, that's the idea. The idea behind activation in the Blue universe, and I can't wait to start talking about the binding concept a little bit more in depth. And then I'll just continue doing this as much as I can with it. Feedback would be lovely. I'll try to incorporate it and try to address it if anyone does give feedback. This includes family and friends, if they feel so inclined. It's kind of interesting when you start creating this cognitive modeling, and you're able to, like I said, the term I like to use is play with it. You're not really bound. It's not like I'm trying to prove anything right now. I'm just trying to understand it, trying to kind of get a scope of what it is that I'm messing around with. So, if anyone's watching this video, thank you, and I will see you when I do my next one. Bye.